Good morning, everyone. This is Karen Hooley, and I am so excited you guys are here for this week's edition of the Team Whooleygan live chat. It's 88 degrees at 9 a.m. here on the Pacific Coast. Actually, I'm inland a little now in South Central Washington, and we're supposed to hit 111. So I'm so glad I'm doing this during the cool part of the day so I can have my windows shades up so I can have some light. Before I get started and see everybody in the chat room, and if you're there, make sure you say hello in the chat. But before I get started, I want to let you know that if you are watching this for the first time, you can visit me at KarenHooley.com. That's the link there in my below me right there. To learn more about me, everything about Karen Hooley Designs is there. You can learn about my classes, my patterns, my books. I have blog posts there, a whole lot of other things and resources. So make sure you check it out. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. If you want to go directly to subscribe, go ahead and go to this link. It's going to bring you directly to my subscription form. And all subscribers get 25% off any new release pattern, discounts on books, the first to hear about classes, and there is a whole lot more. So make sure you subscribe now. I have a newsletter going out on Friday, so make sure you're subscribed. If you are watching this for the first time, and this is the first time you've seen my YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. That's my YouTube channel right there. So you can go there, hit the subscribe button, and then also make sure you hit the thumbs up. The more people that subscribe and hit the thumbs up as they're watching, the more people I can reach, and I would really love to grow Team Whooleygan to be even bigger. So make sure you subscribe there. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I am most active. And actually, if you haven't followed me this week, I've been doing a lot of Instagram stories this week. I am actually going on video as well on Instagram. So make sure you're following me on Instagram. I'm at Karen Hooley, just like you see right here. So make sure you follow me. If you are watching after the fact, I also upload these videos to Rumble. Rumble's another video streaming platform that a lot of people like, and I'm starting to grow over there. In fact, I'm getting a lot of comments from people who are watching the videos over there. So make sure you subscribe to my Rumble channel. That's it right there. And make sure you check it out because there's a lot of cool things over there. There's not a whole lot of crochet, and that could be why I'm starting to really take off there on Rumble, but definitely check out Rumble. So I'm going to head over to the chat room here and see who's here. I notice that you guys are starting to say good morning. Oh, Pat's here. Good morning, Pat. It's good to see you. Hope you're feeling better and walking and doing well. Marianne, hello. It's good to see you. You got your book, I hope. I kept watching the tracking, and it was really slow to get to you. So I hope it got there safely. So let me know if you didn't get it. And then Ruth is here. Am I surviving the heat? I am. Fortunately, we have air conditioning. I have a fan right above me. So, and my window here is west facing. So that part of the house is getting the heat right now. We keep everything closed up. In fact, we bought a, what do you call them? The sunsetter shades that have the remote that you can put the shade out. We have a covered patio, but our kitchen window had nothing over it. And so we put a shade over it, and that's helped so much with this heat because that's west facing or east facing, and it just gets blasted in the morning. And Linda's here. Good morning. And so is Brat. Hi, Brat. Oh my goodness. And Andrea, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. How are you? And yes, I guess it is afternoon on the East Coast. It's only 9 a.m. here, so good morning. And Kathy's here. Good morning, Kathy. It's good to see you. Wow, we've got a lot of people here. And Renee, good morning. Good to have you here. And Linda says, don't forget to smash that like button. Yes, please. Everybody that's here, if you could just hit that like button, that would be great. And oh, yes, cool, Marianne. I'm so glad the book arrived. I was really worried there for a while. Anyway, I know the mail services has had some hiccups. And if Dawn's here, it has been getting better, but this was one really a weird outlier. So I'm glad it got there. Anyway, so let's get started. I actually, you guys made a list this time around, so I don't forget what I want to talk about. So the first thing I usually talk about is finished projects. Gosh, I can't talk today. Finished projects, and I did finish a project this weekend. You guys saw the baby blanket I was working on. I did finish it. This is my favorite go-to blanket pattern. If you haven't gone to my website to get this blanket pattern, you can go to the freebies section, and it's the simply striped Afghan or baby blanket, or I can't remember what I call it now. It used to be simply striped Afghan. I think it's simply striped baby blanket, I think is what it is. Whenever I do this blanket, I would just want to make sure I got everything here. Okay. Every time I do this blanket, I change it up a little. So this is not exactly what you see in the pattern. I made it so it was 36 by 36, so it's square. So they can play it out on the floor, and the baby can play on it with it, or they can use it in a stroller, things like that. It's 36 by 36. And then the other thing I did was, instead of the straight edging I think I have on the original pattern, I did a scalloped edge. So everybody, when I do this pattern, the body is usually the same. It's just different sizes for different people, depending on who I'm sending it to and what purposes I have for it. But and then the edging is always changed up a little. So since they don't like pink for little girls, it's a little girl named Penny. They don't like pink, so I did the yellow, white, and gray. But I wanted to make it a little frilly, so I put the scalloped edge on the bottom. So that is finished. I'm so excited. And so that you guys know what yarn I used. I used the Red Heart Bunches of Hugs. So there's the link down there for you. And this is the colorway Castle. And I thought it turned out really, really great. I love how this yarn stripes. I used about 1 and maybe a half of a second skein of yarn, maybe a third instead of a half. I didn't weigh it, so I don't know for sure. But it's really funny because I usually use those skeins of yarn as a center pole, and the second skein ended up with a big rat's nest in the middle of the center pole. Not because I pulled it out wrong, but somehow when it wound into the skein, the machines probably just knotted it up, and I ended up having to hand roll 675 yards to get it to work in order to be able to finish that Afghan. So that was quite the project. So I thought I would share that with you, though, because I'm going to go ahead and mail it probably this weekend to Taylor, who was a student of mine. So I'm really excited to get that to him. Okay, so that was that. So I've started a few projects, guys, finally, some new stuff. The first thing I want to show you is my socks, my knitted socks. And I know a lot of you have aren't knitters, but I like to knit socks for myself. The crocheted ones for me lately have been an issue. I still wear them, but just my feet, I don't know if it's the heat here or the dryness or something, but I don't like the feel of the crochet foot. So I'm trying to come up with a way to do a crocheted sock with a knitted bottom. So that's something that's been churning in the back of my mind, just so that I can have, because I love crocheted socks. I love how fast they are. I love how, just how they look and how they come out. So hopefully that'll happen. But I'm knitting a pair of socks right now. I think I've showed you this yarn before. This is Tippy Trees yarn. And this was actually one of her sock kits that she has a monthly club for, and she tells us what the theme is. And she, how do I say this? She doesn't show us the colors until we get it. So this month, I think it was May, was the month that she sent these out. It was Bon Jovi, and those of you who know me well know how much I love Bon Jovi. So this is, it's 80s, and so it's got the neon. You really can't see how neon this green is, but it came with a neon, small neon skein that is for the cuffs, the heels, and the toes. And then this multicolor kind of yellows, and there's some pinks in there, and blue, and gray. It's a kind of almost stripy, now that I'm knitting it up, colorway. And when I first looked at it, when I think of Bon Jovi, I think of, they never in the 80s wore neon, but then I remembered their breakout album was Slippery When Wet. So if those of you who know Bon Jovi or even don't know Bon Jovi that well, probably know Slippery When Wet. And when that album was supposed to come out, it was supposed to have a different cover than it actually did. The cover actually is kind of like, it looks like a shower door with a black background. It has water all over it. And somebody wrote Slippery When Wet with their finger on the water. The original was supposed to have a gal that had a yellow shirt on that was all torn up like the 80s. And it had a Slippery When Wet sign. And it was in these colors. So I don't know if she's a true Bon Jovi fan or not, but only the true Bon Jovi fans have seen that cover because it was announced to the fan club and all that kind of stuff. So that's what this reminds me of. So I'm working on a pair of socks for myself. So that's really fun. And that's her website right there if you're interested in just checking out her yarn. I really like the yarn. It's really soft. I can't remember. It's a merino. I want to say it's a merino. Here's the big skein. It's a merino nylon, I believe. I don't want to pull the center out. I'll let you guys know when I finish the socks what it is. I just hate pulling the tag out if I don't have to. So that's the first thing I did. I started, and then I think I've shown you before that I was going to do. Let me take this off the screen. I was going to do Christmas stockings for my family, and I told you that I'm going to knit them all. And I did start my almost soon-to-be son-in-law's, and it's knitted, of course. So I want to show you. I always knit. I knit inside out when I'm doing color work because it helps with being too tight when I'm doing the floats. So this is the top of his stocking. I'm going to do a crocheted edge on the top to get rid of the roll. But that's the top of his stocking. It's going to have Christmas trees, and then it's going to have paw prints, and then snowflakes, and then the heel. And then it's going to have like a snowflake pattern for the foot and then a toe. So his is going to be the cuff, the heel, and the toe are red, and the rest is white. And I'm doing them those colors because that's the colors for WSU where he and my daughter met in college, Washington State University. My daughter's is going to be the reverse, where her cuff, her heel, and her toe are going to be white, and the main body of her stocking is going to be red. So, and then for my son, I'm going to do his in, what do you call it? He's Montana State University. So his are going to be that kind of royal blue and gold that their colors are. And then my husband and I haven't decided yet. I kind of want to do the traditional blue and white Christmassy with lots of snowflakes for mine, but for Dave's, I have no idea what I'm going to do. So, but that's the next project I've started. And then you guys saw the swatch a couple weeks ago, or I don't know, maybe it was last week for the baby sweater. I finally figured it out, what I wanted to do, because I changed up the yoke on the sweater and stuff, and I finally fished the yoke yesterday. I started braiding. My hook is caught. Oh, there we go. There we go. Don't want to. So this is a top-down sweater this is a 3T that I'm crocheting in. And I'm going to just kind of, it's not perfect right now, but this is the yoke. It's ready to divide for the sleeves. I'm going to divide for the sleeves, and then I'm going to work the body, and then I'm going to join for the sleeves. It's top down, but the original was a raglan style, and I decided to do a circular yoke this time, and I like it better. If you follow me on Instagram, make sure, I'm going to put my Instagram back up here. Make sure you check this morning's post in my feed. The very first one, there's a picture of this just started, and I do the story of how and why it's changed from the original, because it was designed in 2007. I designed it. And I took it off my pattern line probably around 2010. So it wasn't out for very long. And then when I started looking at it and to redesign it, because I was originally going to just freshen it up, maybe change a couple things to make it more modern, using more modern yarn. But then I go through everything that's changed from this original pattern. So make sure you check that out. It's kind of fun. And it's kind of, and then also in that post, if you go onto Instagram, make sure you tell me about a project that you had, or you guys can even tell me now, a project that you had that you originally going to start with, one way, and it totally changed from what your original idea was. Even if it was, someone else's pattern that you were just following, what you did to make it different. So definitely tell me about that. So that's going to be coming up the pipe in my pattern line, probably sometime early next year. I'm thinking that's when that one's going to be coming out. And okay, so I've gotten all of that. Okay, so I want to tell you guys, I've been wanting to talk about this on the live streams, and I keep forgetting. So that's why I had to write myself a list to make sure that I talked about this. I don't know if you can see back here. I'm going to pull it. This is a super large crochet hook. I don't think I've ever shown you guys this. This is actually a cane that I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Jimbo. He's a crochet. I don't know if he's still around. I haven't heard from him in a long time. Haven't seen him on social media for a long time, so I don't know what might have happened to him. But he used to hand carve crochet hooks, and a lot of people out there used to buy his crochet hooks like crazy. And back in, it was like 2010, maybe somewhere around there, 2010, 2012. I was teaching at the Crochet Guild of America in Greensboro, North Carolina. And the very first night, I had a night class on that Wednesday night. And I went to set up my classroom, realized I forgot something. Walked back to my room, got whatever it was. I don't even remember anymore what it was. So went back to my room, picked up what I needed, and I was hurrying back to my class because I only had like 10 minutes before class started. And I was walking across this marble floor that had grout lines. And somehow my foot hit the grout line sideways and just twisted my foot, and I went down. And I ended up fracturing my foot, my fifth metatarsal. And, I got up, I went to class, and right as class was starting, my foot started to swell. And I had a student who was a registered nurse in the class, and she saw my foot swelling. And she said, "You need to sit down. What happened?" So I told her what happened. And she made me sit for the entire class with my foot propped up. I taught my class, tried to get up after the class. It was a 3-hour evening class. It was 9:00. Tried to get up and I couldn't barely walk on it. They called the down to the front desk, and they sent up security with a wheelchair, and they wheeled me down and called EMTs and took me to the hospital. And that's when I found out I had broken my foot. And they put me in a walking cast or walking boot, but told me not to walk on it. But I was thinking, oh God, they're going to send me home. And that didn't happen either. So I ended up spending the entire weekend flying out. I was there from Tuesday night till Monday morning. Monday morning I flew out. They didn't want me to fly right away because they were worried about clots and stuff like that on the flight. And I was flying from North Carolina to Seattle, so that was quite the trip home. I did have a layover and I had to get help at the airport. But anyway, when I got home, they basically said it was too late to surgically fix it. So they put me in a boot and kept me off it for a while, and then they had me in a walking boot. So a few weeks later, I want to say it was that was September, and November, the early part of November, I was teaching at. There was an event called Crochet Cama, which was up at Cama Beach, up near Camino. It's on Camino Island. If you know any of the Washington geography, it's just north of Seattle in the Puget Sound. It's an island, and I was teaching. And Jimbo was also teaching about how to carve crochet hooks, and he had heard about what had happened to me, and so he made me this cane. And actually, that whole time that I was there, this cane came. It's so handy with that boot, because I was in a handicapped room because I was walking. I couldn't go upstairs, things like that. So this helped so much. It was on the beach too, so that was interesting. That's another story for another day. But anyway, so since I healed up, I haven't used this for anything. I've always said that I wanted to crochet something with it. But what I decided when we moved into this house is that I think I'm going to get, have you guys seen that really thick roving yarn that people use for, for knitting with your hands, arm knitting, I guess is what they call it, or finger crochet? Or arm crochet, that they make these big old blankets. Well, I'm going to order some. I haven't decided exactly on the color yet, but I'm going to use this with that roving, and I'm going to make a Tunisian crochet hanging that the hook itself will be part of the wall hanging. So there'll be a Tunisian crochet thing here with all the loops still here, and I'll use it as a piece for my office. So hopefully I'll decide on a color before the weekend and get it ordered. And then I'll show you that work in progress too. This is going to be interesting because it's a good 36 inches long and it's huge. Obviously you guys can see how big this hook is. So it'll be pretty interesting to see how this is. But I wanted to tell you guys that story and show you this because I thought it was a really cool thing that someone would take a broom handle. Sorry guys. Put this back up here really quick. Doesn't want to stay up. Okay, I'll just put it down. That someone would take a broom handle and make a crochet cane out of it. It's kind of cool, huh? So, okay, so let's get down to chatting, you guys. You guys are so quiet this morning. Okay, so first of all, I do want to talk about yarn organization today because we talked about patterns and hooks and all that other stuff last week. But this week I wanted to talk about yarn organization. And but before we do that, I wanted to follow up on a question we had talked about last week. And I talked about doing a pattern subscription. So I have a new question for you, and I just would like to hear what your thoughts are. So if I were to do a pattern subscription club with a theme, because it's going to be a themed one this next year, would you want goodies to go with the patterns mailed to you? So you would get a physical pattern and maybe some goodies, or would you just want a digital pattern monthly? So because I was talking to someone earlier last week and or earlier this week who was saying that that most subscription clubs have goodies. I didn't know. I mean, I'm trying to find somebody else who has done a pattern subscription to see how they have done it. But so far, I have had no success. Every single one of them that I have looked up has closed, which is interesting. The business is closed, but that was their entire business was the subscription club. So, so guys, what do you think? I mean, I know there's a few of you out there. So, If you're interested in doing, and I haven't figured out pricing or anything, this is just hypothetically, what would you want if you were to join a pattern club with a theme where all the patterns were on a particular theme, which is what next year's pattern club will be. But would you want print patterns with goodies mailed to you, or would you want just the digital pattern, or would you like to have the option for either or? So I'm going to take a sip of coffee while you guys think about that. And okay. She likes either choice, but goodies are good. That's good. Because the one thing I would recommend is, or what I would say is, if I did the printed pattern mailed, it would be a lot more expensive because I'd have to include the cost of shipping involved in, you know, whether I do a box or an envelope, a padded envelope or something. So it would make the cost a little bit more. Now, digitally, if I did digital patterns, I might be able, I haven't figured out the whole thing yet, but I might be able to do a, what do you call it? Like a digital coupon for the dyer. I'm going to talk to the dyers and see if they'd be interested in, you know, giving us a coupon on the yarn that I used in these patterns. So just a thought. Okay. Pat says either or. Andrea says, I like the idea of print with goodies, but would like a digital link for saving the file. Okay, that's actually something I have been thinking about too. I'm glad you said that, because I've been trying to think if I'm going to put it like on printed pattern, have like a QR code or an actual link so that you can save the file too. So that's good for me to remember. I'm going to write that down too. So everybody seems to be either or. Anybody else have an opinion? So print. Okay. Oh, the other thing too is if I were to do it that way, where we'd have a little goodie box or bag or whatever it is going to be, and I do the print, would you think that people would want the option to just have a digital, or would you think that people would? This is the part I'm trying to work out. If I do print with the goodies, the digital people won't get the goodies. So I'm trying to think, do you think there are people out there who don't care about the goodies other than maybe getting like a discount on the yarn that I used? Anybody have thoughts on that? I just want to hear, besides my own mind talking about this or thinking about this, let me know what you guys think. Boy, you guys are quiet today. Are you guys all in the heat too, like me? Digital plus coupon. Okay, so there's someone who would like the digital only. Okay, and I'm trying to think, because the theme of what next year's club will be, it's really kind of hard to think about actual goodies that would be different for each month. So and since this is the first time I'm doing it, I'm trying to just work out what the costs would be on my end before I even price it for what it would be for you guys. So I just want to know what you guys are thinking. So I'd like a coupon for the yarn but goodies work as well. Is there anybody here that prefers print patterns over digital? Just wants print patterns and that's it? They don't want to save a digital pattern? Okay, so 94 with high humidity. You guys are a little late. I should look and see what we are at now. We just hit, we're 88 and it's, oh, nope, it just hit 90. 90 at 9:30. So yeah. So we're getting there. Linda says, hot and humid here. Can't go outside if I plan to breathe. Yeah, fortunately we're not as humid here, which is good for my asthma. But there you go. And Linda says she saves all your patterns. Are you talking about all your digital patterns or all of your print patterns or both? I mean, I'm assuming both, but I mean, when you say that, you just you like we talked about last time, filing them or putting them in a binder, that kind of thing. And just so you guys know, I have actually started working on my digital files. I haven't gotten very far, but I did have kind of sorted through probably 10 or 15 of them and got them in different folders. So there we go. Digital, I can print for putting in project bag. Okay, cool. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, that's good to know. You say both, but have a digital. Yeah, that's right. We talked about that last week with the flash drives and stuff. Yes. Always make sure, guys, that you back up your flash drives too, because that has been an issue for me anyway. So, okay. So I think we've talked about that enough. Let's go ahead and talk about yarn organization. So first of all, guys, oops, let me take off this banner here. There we go. So let's talk about yarn again. So first of all, I want to hear from you guys. How do you store your yarn? Do you store your yarn? Oh, here we go. What about including the QR code with the goodies, but not printing the patterns? Interesting. That's an interesting thought, Andrea. Let me write that down. That's a really good idea. Okay, that's a really good idea. I didn't even think about that. Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm thinking with goodies, what I was thinking, like I have, where'd they go? So goodies, like I have, this would probably come in the first box, the Team Whooleygan pin. I'm actually setting up a Teespring store with Team Whooleygan stuff. It's not done yet, so I haven't promoted it yet, but I am going to be doing that where you can, get cups and I'd probably do a discount for that. Things like that. So what about, okay, this is one other question before we start talking about our yarn organization. I promise we're going to talk about yarn organization. If I did everything digitally, including the QR codes, this was something else I was thinking. What if for every person who signed up, whether they did, monthly subscription, a 3-month, 6-month, or 12-month subscription, that they all would get sent a physical package with just kind of like welcome to the yarn club with little things like the Team Whooleygan pins and stuff like that. So just wondering if I added a little bit of the cost of shipping stuff like that to you guys, how do you feel about that? Be careful about Teespring. I used them earlier this month and they charged stuff to my card that I didn't order. Oh, that's good to know. That is good to know. Okay. I'll check into that just to be sure. But what do you guys think about that? I mean, I know a lot of people with digital, they don't like to give out their address. My shopping cart requires it, unfortunately. So I don't know if that has cost me any sales for my digital patterns, but that would allow me at least the first month when you subscribe to be able to send you a Team Whooleygan pin and things like that. So anybody have an idea about that? So go ahead and put that in the chat if you have thought about that. Anyway, okay, going back to yarn organization. Let's talk about that. So, so in the chat, first of all, guys, tell me what you use to put your yarn in. Are you using, I use these cubes behind me. I also have in my closet over here, I didn't pull them out because they're way up on the top shelf, but I do a big plastic bin that I throw all of the scrap yarns that I don't have enough to do anything with, but I don't want to throw them away quite yet because they're good for swatching with, or they're good for doing like a scrap yarn project, something like that. So I do that with bins. So anybody else have something other than what I do with actual, the physical, how you store your yarns? So Pat said, or let me go with Pat first. Pat says, totes with lid as my yarn is currently stored in a garage. That makes sense. That makes total sense. Linda says, my yarn is in plastic tubs I get from Costco. I have large tubs and smaller ones as well, and they stack nicely. Do you guys use clear tubs, or do you guys use the opaque ones that you can't see and you have to label them? Just out of curiosity. Mine are all clear, so that I can see, so I can say, okay, that tub has my fingering weight, that tub has my DK weight, that has my, whatever. So I know what's in it. I can tell by color too. If the yarn that I'm looking for, that I want the scrap from, I can see. I also have here on this cubicle here, this is all leftover yarns from different projects. You can see they're all different sizes. These I have here on purpose because they're either projects I'm still working on the patterns for, or there's so much yarn here that they're not really considered scraps, that I can actually make something different. So Linda says she uses clear, and so does Pat. Awesome. Okay. So now let's talk about how you organize your yarn. Oh, totes with lids, Andrea. I put natural fibers in plastic bags in the totes because Long Island has carpet beetles that eat fiber. That's actually smart, because I was going to talk about moths and other fiber-eating insects. So we're going to circle back to that in just a second. So awesome. Okay, so most of you guys use totes. I use these cubicles because I'm constantly refreshing my stash. Not constantly, but enough that I don't have to worry about them being out in the open. And then when I'm working on a new project, I am constantly moving my yarn. So if you do have shelving, this is my first tip. Tip number one. If you do use shelving, open shelving with open air, one of the biggest things you want to do is always move your stash. So like every month and a half, 2 months, go through, a cubicle and move the yarn, look at it, maybe reorder it just so that you get air in there, and you can also check for bugs and things like that. I also have, and I don't know that I can see one right now, but usually in the back of my bin, mixed in with the yarn, I also get the little lavender packets that are for moths. They're lavender and mothball type of things. They've got the lavender in there so that it doesn't smell so much like mothballs. I use that as well to keep moths out and things like that. But most of my yarn, I will give you some. Like this bin here has some yarn that's probably 2 or 3 years old in it, but because I'm moving it all the time, they don't get them. I have to worry about them. I'm always checking them, things like that. So I'm not worried too much about it. And before we moved to this part of Washington, my stash was in a big walk-in closet for a while before I moved into my son's bedroom when he moved out. And I was in the basement, and so I had to be careful with mold because the basement was below grade, and I had to watch for that as well. So I did have issues at one point with mold on a couple of skeins of yarn, which was really interesting because it didn't touch anything else. So that's been an interesting thing. So, okay. So Andrea says her tubs are both clear and solid. And Renee says cubicles and baskets. Awesome. Okay. Baskets are interesting. If they're natural, reeds or I can't even, raffia or any of that, you do have to be careful with baskets, because baskets, for some reason, at least in my experience, attract moths faster. I was knitting a sweater for my son that I put aside for, I don't know, 3 years before I finished it. I had to restart it because moths got to it. And even though I had been, recycling it and moving it and stuff, I found out later that at least on the west side of Washington, there's something about the wood in baskets, whether it's the raffia, the wood, the reeds, whatever it is, creates some sort of magnet for moths. And I had these beautiful knitted, because it was a knitted sweater with these beautiful cables, and the cables had holes in them. It was terrible. Thank God it was Knit Picks yarn, because it didn't cost me a fortune to replace the yarn. In fact, this is the yarn I used. This is the color and the yarn. I bought a few extra skeins because his shoulders had broadened, and I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough yarn. So I have a few extra skeins of that I need to do something with. But that's something you might want to check wherever you live in the country if that's an issue. But in Washington, in fact, the couple of yarn shops that I went to and told them what happened, because it was 100% wool, both said with storing in wood, anything wood or raffia or that kind of thing for a long period of time can, even if you're careful to watch it, it can attract moths, and that's what it did. So anyway, so there you go. And I just saw Marianne pop in that she is a print only person. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, because I know that my latest releases of patterns, I have been offering print, and I've been selling those print. And so that's why I asked that question. Okay. You're welcome, Renee. Just make sure you check with, check and see your area if you have trouble with moths. I know a knitting designer in New York had really, really bad time with moths, and she lost almost her entire stash. So I know moths are prevalent in New York. Here is so dry. I don't know yet. I mean, we've only been living in this area for a year. The 26th was a year that we moved here. And we've only been in this house since January. So, I don't know what to expect at this point. So I do need to talk to my local yarn shop about stuff like that. And your local yarn shops will be your best place to chat with that. So if you have like a small local yarn shop nearby, definitely go talk to them. Okay, so now we've talked about what we store in and how we store. So like I told you that I have all my leftovers either in a bin or larger ones up here. There's a few here that need to go in the bin, like this purple one, and there's a blue one back there that I see, a couple others that I do need to put in that bin. I just haven't been wanting to climb up on that and get onto that shelf and bring it down, so I can do that. But definitely separate out your leftovers, because leftovers tend to multiply faster than your stash does. Have you guys ever noticed that? And what I do with my leftovers is I do go through them every 6 months, and I either donate them to like a senior center or a club that's doing projects with yarn, or a teacher who asks for extra yarn. I know I donated a huge bag to my son's school for their after school program, so that they could do all sorts of stuff with yarn. But a lot of the leftovers I keep, like this one right here is big. I mean, this is a lace weight yarn, but it's a huge leftover. I mean, that's a lot of yarn. So I could do something else with this yarn. But okay, so now what I do is I've kind of divided my cubes up into what I'm planning to do projects with. I have ideas for those that I don't quite have an idea yet. And they're also organized by weight, not by color. I always do it by weight because you guys know I'm a fingering girl. Lace and fingering are my favorites. Up to DK, I'll do, I use worsted. You guys know I use worsted and things like that too. But my sweet spot is fingering lace. DK sometimes. So this side here, these two cubes right here are fingering weight. This is where new yarn that comes in goes. You notice there's no rhyme or reason to the color. This top one is also yarn that has been pigeonholed for a project. This one down here is, I have ideas, but I'm not 100% sure what it's going to be yet. Okay. This is also fingering weight. I just hit something down here. Oh, it's the cane. Let me move the cane out of the way. Okay, this one right here is also fingering weight. These are kind of special yarns. They're yarns I picked up at shows or events, and like this one here, I just fell in love with these colors, and I knew I want to make myself something. This is something I'm going to make for me. I just don't know what yet. I'm thinking a cowl, or I'm thinking a shawlette because it's a small skein. It's a 400 and, oh, it's not actually not that small. It's 438 yards. But what I like about it, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's sparkle in there. Can you see the sparkle when I do that? There's sparkle in it. So I want something for me. These are my colors. These are the blues and the purples. It's got a little orange in there. I'm not usually an orange person, but this is just so pretty. So I want to make something for myself with this. So that's what this is usually up here. Also, there are yarns up here from dyers who are no longer dyeing. So here's like one from Summit Road Fibers. She's no longer dyeing. So I don't know what to do with it. It's probably going to be for a personal project, something like that. Then there's also this dyer is another dyer. Was one of my favorite dyers, and she's no longer dyeing. Black Trillium Fiber. Now this one's really exciting because I don't know if you can see that little guitar in there. I used to way back. I used to have a sock club that Black Trillium dyed the yarn for, and you'd get the sock pattern in the yarn. And this sock pattern was actually designed for my daughter, and Black Trillium dyed this colorway for my daughter. In fact, it's named Cassie. The colorway is named Cassie. And at that time, her favorite colors were pink and brown. And so I don't know if you can see those colors. So this is kind of a special skein that I don't know that I'll ever use. I might use it, but I don't know. We'll see. So that's what I mean by special yarns. And then back there, I also have a couple mini packs back there. I'm not going to pull them out because I'll probably knock everything off when I do it. But mini packs that I probably have projects for. I just haven't figured out if it's exactly what I want to do. So that's what this right here and this here. Here's some more fingering that's kind of an overflow from this. I just kind of want to, although I do have a couple projects in here now that I need to move up to that shelf because I know what I'm going to do with them. Below here, I don't know if you can see the cotton. This is all my cotton, mostly worsted weight. It is all worsted weight. So this is where I have my cotton, just to keep the cotton separate. Up here, this one is actually from all yarns from Knitting Fever. And I put them all together because they sent me a box that I did an opening a few months ago. And I showed you guys all these yarns. And there's several projects in here as well that I know I need to do. A couple of them are going to be just video only kind of things. So you'll be seeing this yarn coming too. Here, this is worsted weight. This is where, oops, and I have a swatch in there. I don't know why I have a swatch in there. This is worsted weight. This is all, right now, all Cascade 220. There's a couple projects in here. In fact, there is these three. These three. Aren't these gorgeous together? This, and they're not even showing the true colors. They look blue and they're actually greens. But this yarn, let's see if I can get it closer. So no, this still looks blue. These are actually on the green tones. And these are going to be a crochet along. And I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere around January that we're going to do this crochet along, just so you guys know. Down here, I'm scooting it over more. Down here, this is mostly my spinning, anything that I've spun. There is also a few skeins of yarn in here that I didn't realize were here. This is worsted. These are all worsted. These are all specialty worsteds that I bought for different things. So I do have some worsted in here. I have some vintage. That was left over from a project. I have some, this is bison wool. This one right here with the big tag on it is bison wool. And this one is, this is also from Montana. So what this was from, these two were from a yarn shop in Montana when I went to visit my son. That's what those are. But most of them are yarn that I do have a skein of worsted in there that I just threw in there the other day. But this is, all my spinning yarn. Back here is my cones of cotton. It's easier to just keep the cones separate from the other stuff. So I have a shelf here with cones. This is some leftover skeins that are from a project that I didn't even break into the skeins, except for this. This is a gradient kit that is in the same, actually I probably should put it over there, is I'm going to use for something. And then I showed you my what do you call it? My leftovers. And then down here at the bottom are just miscellaneous things. I have a couple of bins over there that just store stuff for me. And then these are like leftover yarns from other projects as well. Unopened skeins from Red Heart, things like that. So that's how I organize because I know where everything is. Oh, and then this last bin right here, I forgot about this one. This one has kind of miscellaneous projects. It's got my button box. I have a project bag there right now. And then also my bead crochet stuff. I don't know if I've ever showed you guys my bead crochet. I do bracelets and necklaces and stuff like that. So this is kind of where that stuff is. So it's like specialty stuff. So that's what I do. Now, I know a lot of people love to organize by color. They love to organize by yarn weights and then by color, that kind of thing. So how do you guys do your organization with the actual skeins themselves? What do you do with them? How do you organize them? Do you by color, by weight? How do you do it? Let's see. Linda says, I've got some leftovers and have been using them up on tiny projects. Yep, that's what I do too sometimes. And beautiful sparkly yarn. Yes, that sparkly yarn, I need to do something with that. I've had that for a couple of years. And I just, between having projects for everybody else and my own project line, I never do anything that's just for me other than socks, because socks I can do while I'm watching sports and stuff like that. Pat organizes by brand type and weight. Okay, so brand is another thing I didn't talk about because most of my yarn back here is indie dyed, except with the exception of all the Knitting Fever line. But yes, brand is huge. A lot of people will do Red Heart and then Bernat and Karen yarns, Simply Soft. So anybody else have a way they do it? My stash is small, so store by fiber type. That's another way people do it, by fiber types as well. I'll pack it together. Like me with my cotton, I like to keep the cotton separate. I don't know why. It's just something I do. So there you go. I would say most of mine is organized by fiber. Fiber is another way to do it. Absolutely. Anybody else? Anybody have any tips that they've learned over the years? Or even if you're a new crocheter, have you learned anything about how you store your yarn? When I was first learning to crochet, I mean, literally, I would buy yarn for a project. I'd finish that project. Well, my mom would buy the yarn because I was, 8, 9. Would buy the yarn. I'd finish that project. I would make baby booties with the leftovers, because I did a lot of sport weight yarns back then. I make baby booties and just kind of store them, because my cousins were all having babies back then, with the leftovers. And then I would start another project and I'd get the yarn for that. I'd finish that project. But then once I went to college and started doing my own, that's when my stash started. I did a lot of thread work back then, so I'd have thread. And honestly, I'm surprised I don't have any thread back here. When I moved from the west side here, I got rid of all of the leftover thread I had, because I just had partial spools of thread and I haven't replaced any of it. So that's something I need to put in my stash. Mine is stable and not very organized. You know, this is still a work in progress for me too. So, yeah, I mean, I do go through it from time to time, like I said, every month or two, and I move things around and check, especially the older yarns, for moths and anything like that. Now that's what I want to talk about next too, is, we have about 5 minutes. So let's talk about the mites and the moths and the bugs and the beetles and all the stuff that can get into your stash. Andrea mentioned earlier that she puts the natural fibers in Ziplocs and then puts them in the totes. And that's smart, because natural fibers are the first things that the bugs will go for. Wools, even the cottons, sometimes the flax, all of that. I would definitely put them in Ziplocs. If you find that you have a skein that was attacked by, let's say, moths, for example, the first thing you want to do is pull out all the affected skeins. Actually, you want to pull all your skeins out and check them, and literally, I mean, if you go through it and just kind of, go like this with your yarn and see if there's anything, stuck in between, because they will hide. Those little buggers will hide. So any skein that's affected with moths, whether you see the moths or you see the holes, pull them out, and then check everything else and make sure you've got all of those. Then I would clean whatever you're keeping your yarn in. I mean, whether it's a tote, a shelf, just shelving in your office or your craft room, even if it's just a windowsill, whatever it is, I would clean it with whatever you can that will disinfect, whatever. Now, if the yarn only has like 1 or 2 bites in it, I would say it's salvageable. And what I have done, or what I have seen other people do as well, is they open up the skein, so unwind the hank. They don't pull it all apart, but they unwind the hank, put them in the freezer. Put the yarn in the freezer. That'll kill any eggs and things like that. If you suspect any of your skeins to have eggs, and if you Google online, you'll be able to find what this kind of stuff looks like. If you suspect any of it, freeze that too. And if you Google it online, you can find how long you need to freeze. I think it's like a week. Is it less than a week? I can't remember. I think it's a week. Just to keep it frozen. Anything that's not salvageable, put in a plastic bag, knot it up good, and throw it away. There's nothing you can do if it's not salvageable, and there's so many eggs or so many moths, because like my son's sweater, you could see the moths attached to, and the moth egg casings were attached to that sweater. It was a really quick thing. I don't know how it happened, because I was checking it every single month. So that's something to think about too. If you see a lot of moth casings or egg casings, you need to do something with that yarn. So mites are harder to see. Again, freezing, as far as I can remember, I haven't had any problems with mites, but I might here on this side of the state. Mites are usually hard to get over in the Seattle and the humidity and stuff like that. But here it's drier, so I might have to watch that. Let's see. My stash has started over the past 5 or 6 years. I only used to buy for a certain project and finish it. Now I'm afraid I'll miss a sale. I want something for the future. Don't we all? That is the hardest part for me. And in fact, I have to say the one blessing for me for this pandemic, well, there's been a lot of blessings, but one really big blessing for me is not being able to go to shows where there's vendor markets, because I'm not buying as much yarn. And actually my stash right now, what you're seeing, is very small compared to what it used to be. So, and a lot of people will say, look at my stash and say, oh gosh, you have a small stash. And I'll say, yeah, I do. It's usually bigger than this. So, and actually I have another bag of acrylic yarn over there for a video project I'm going to be doing. So, so there you go, guys. I like to use Red Heart and Land Brand yarns when I'm doing videos, and I also like to use Cascade 220. So that's why I have so much Cascade 220, because it's a really good workhorse yarn, and a natural fiber that does really great for videos and when I'm doing classes and stuff. So there you go. And Linda says she's scratching like crazy. She can't stand any bugs. I feel ya. Okay. So I'm done talking about bugs. So we've talked about stash. If you guys have any more ideas, put them in the chat room. And if you come up with something, if you're watching this video after the fact and you have ideas, make sure you put them in the comments, even on here on YouTube or on Rumble, if you're watching on Rumble, because, you know, I don't know everything about yarn storage. I mean, I know what my experience is. I know what I like to do. I do know a lot about keeping the bugs out, that kind of thing. But if you have something that you want to share, make sure you share it. I'm going to go ahead and start my closing, and then I'll come back and say goodbye to everyone in chat. So thanks for watching this video if you're watching after the fact, and I hope that you'll join us live next time. Or just as a reminder, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to KarenWhooley.com. Everything there is to know about Karen Whooley Designs is there. So make sure you check it out. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. Newsletter subscribers get 25% off all new pattern releases, discounts on books, find out about classes first, and a whole lot more. I'm sending out a newsletter this coming Friday, so make sure you're subscribed. If you're watching this somewhere else, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The subscribe button is right down below this. It's red, just hit subscribe, and then also hit the thumbs up if you like this video. The more thumbs up I get, the more visible my videos become, and Team Whooleygan can grow. So I really like to see more people here at watching videos live. So also, you can follow me on Instagram at Karen Whooley. I'm very active on Instagram this week, especially. I've been doing videos every day. So, and after this video is over, probably this afternoon, I'll be doing my next video. So make sure you check out me on Instagram. And then last but not least is my Rumble channel. I always upload these videos to Rumble as well, because there's a lot of people out there who don't like YouTube. So Rumble also gets to have these videos live, and my Rumble channel is growing. So make sure you check it out, and I will see you there as well. There's a subscribe button there. It's green and it's above the video, if I remember correctly. I'm not there right now, so it should be above the video though. So that's it for me today. I'm just going to hit the comments just to say goodbye to everybody. I hope you guys had a good time today. I mean, I did a lot of talking today. I can tell my voice is getting a little rough here. So anybody have anything else before I go? Oh, Linda ordered my Halloween project. If you don't know what she's talking about, I did the crochet pattern for Forbidden Fibers Halloween calendar, Halloween Advent calendar, she calls it. 13 mini skeins, and I think it's like almost 1,200 yards of yarn. So make sure you check it out. You can go to my Instagram channel, and I can tell you about. You can find out more about that kit and look up Forbidden Fiber Company. So anyway, guys, I'm going to say goodbye. Have a great rest of your week. I will talk to you next week. It's going to be July next week, so I will see you next Wednesday. If you have any topics, let me know what you would like me to talk about, because every week I kind of just figure out what we've been talking about and where I can expand on that. So make sure you let me know if you have a topic that you'd like me to see. Have a great rest of your week. See you next week. Bye all.